we made a way from from the bottom of the league. Let's say we have this league-based system in Hyderabad. Started from the bottom. I think we were in the C division or whatever. We started from there, and then we climbed our way up to like we said, various categories of levels of cricket. School cricket, league cricket. Then we started playing for A division of it, after which I couldn't find the time to pursue it longer.
Right.
My brother went on to play. He played for Hyderabad. He played first class for Hyderabad. He played South Winners. I went around, got some lab tests done. Then the lab test came back. The doctor called me. These were his exact words. He said, "You're a ticking time bomb." I'm surprised you're still on your feet.
Wow. Wow.
So I was like shocked. What are you talking about? I mean, he said all your numbers are through the roof. I mean, they're the wrong side of the spectrum, and then you have to, do some corrections for you to, see things in a better light. That came as a turning point, and that's where I started my association back with sport.
I am Venki, a working professional in IT as well as an amateur masters athlete and a coach for endurance sports. You are listening to the Working Athlete podcast. Here, I talk to working athletes from all walks of life and experts from various sports to provide you with inspiration, training tips, and lifestyle advice. If this is something that interests you, I have a small request from you. Please subscribe to the channel on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts from. You can also let me know what you like and what you would like to listen to more of by commenting in the comment section on YouTube. I promise to do my best to improve with each episode and bring you the best content that helps you and me get better each day. This episode is brought to you by The Bike Affair. If you are in search of a one-stop destination that caters to all your cycling needs, our today's sponsor, The Bike Affair, is the perfect place to check out. I have known the founders of The Bike Affair, Krish and Gokul, personally for nearly 15 years now. In fact, my first century ride was with Krish back in 2008. They are both exceptional human beings and entrepreneurs that believe in providing exceptional service to their customers. And it shows. With over 14 years of experience, the Bike Affair has established itself as a trusted source offering honest advice and exceptional service. They are offering a special treat for the listeners of this podcast. You can enjoy a 10% discount on your first order by using the code BikeyVenki on their website. So if you are in Hyderabad, visit their store in Kondapur, or if you are anywhere else in India, shop online by using the link thebikeaffair.com. I will leave the link in the show notes. Now, enjoy the podcast. Hi Murali.
Hi, Venki.
Welcome to the Working Athlete podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. So, Murali, first time I saw you was in 2018, right? In tour of Nilgiris.
Right.
We were riding together.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
I was actually, very curious and we spoke about it. And you also had a very interesting journey into endurance sports. So I wanted to use this opportunity. Now we are in Thailand riding together. So I thought we'd catch up and capture your journey. This episode of the Working Athlete.
It's been 6 years. I mean, again, we're back riding together.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Murali, let us go back a little bit and talk about what is your relationship with sport growing up?
Uh, we've always been a very sporty kind of a family. We have been in and around sports at home, at school. Sport was almost a way of life. I mean, even though it was cricket, and we were always at the grounds. All this up till the school level was very, very It's a very active school life. Yeah. And then both me and my brother both were very active cricketers. My brother took it to a different level. And unfortunately, after school, I couldn't devote much time to sports as such. Then all the usual things happened. College happened and then career happened. Sports took a backseat.
So before we move on from cricket, let us talk a little bit more about that period. What was it like, as a kid playing cricket, little seriously, and up to what level? I think district levels and all
Yeah.
these things will be there, right? What level did you play?
I mean, based out of Hyderabad, cricket was like, almost a way of life for us kids at those days. And it was serious cricket. I mean, we used to train in the morning, 6 o'clock. We used to have these camps. We have something called ground called Gymkhana at Hyderabad. That's where most of the summer camps used to happen. So 6 o'clock we used to be there, and during holidays there would be camps even in the evening as well. So 3:30 again we report back to the camp. So it was like twice a day we were out in playing, and then on the weekends we had matches. Saturday, Sundays all matches, and sometimes Sundays had matches, and we made a way from from the bottom of the league. Let's say we have this league-based system in Hyderabad. I started from the bottom. I think we were in the C division or whatever. We started from there, and then we climbed our way up to like you said, various categories of levels of cricket. School cricket, league cricket, and we started playing for A division a bit. After which I couldn't find the time to pursue it longer.
Right.
My brother went on to play. He played for Hyderabad. Played first class for Hyderabad. He played South Zone as well.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh. So he took it a bit further. I couldn't, unfortunately, take it.
Right. So, once you got into studies and then career, how, what sort of activities were you doing?
So even during the college days, there were activities, but not as planned or as frequent as it should have been. There were this usual. There were cricket tournaments, of course, and then there was the early morning badminton and those kind of stuff. And it should have been regular, but certain other priorities keep coming, and things were like always growing, so it was difficult to continue the same level of intensity across all kinds of activities. But we were in touch till almost to college, but the touch was lost once you hit the career. So once the job and the career and everything started, sport was lost.
Right. So what was the career?
I did my MBA, and then I started my career basically in brands. Then I shifted to telecom. 25 years I've spent in telecom. I mean, this is right from the time when telecom was launched, or the telecom licenses were announced.
Right.
Yeah.
Airtel, all those things, yeah.
I mean, the first brand which I worked is not there anymore. It was called BPL Mobile, actually.
Correct.
Yeah.
BPL Mobile.
Yeah. So it was very, very busy period, since it was launch of an entirely new industry and new product as such. It was, time just flew by. You didn't have a minute to think of anything else.
Right.
Least of all sport. It was like totally lost in all the
hustle and bustle.
Sometimes chaotic. Product launch, event launch. I mean, it was like how telecom was.
Yeah.
Every week there used to be some kind of launch or those days I'm talking about those Nokias and Ericssons and all.
Yeah.
It was busy. I mean, life just
Forward.
marriage happened, kid happened. I mean, all milestones kept happening, but sport always was lost, which was in retrospect it should not be in way because but life didn't give you time to do anything else.
You wouldn't even have the time to think it's hit
Exactly,
retrospect,
yeah.
right?
I mean, I'm talking about 12 hours, 14 hours working days. I mean, once you're done, then there is
Hardly any
there's
energy
no
left.
mind space left to think
Correct.
about anything else. Yeah.
Yeah. So then, I mean, during this, your career took you to the meditation.
Yeah, it did actually.
Hmm.
I mean, like I said, telecom days were very busy, and then there was a small kind of what do you say? I wanted to take a break from telecom because the Indian telecom was, kind of like you said, it was always hustle and bustle and chaos. Then I got this opportunity in Middle East,
Hmm.
Abu Dhabi especially. A former colleague of mine had already joined the Abu Dhabi-based operator called Inthanon. So he was like, the chaos is less here. Maybe you don't have to spend so much of energy what you're doing there. Though. Maybe you'll get time to do something else. So why don't you, give it a shot?
Right.
So he was right. So I went there for a year. It was much more peaceful and, much more regular paced work there. So it was like you could find time to do something else as well. I mean, your mind was free of the clutter to find, to find or think about doing something else.
Right. And so once you got there and got a little bit more time and energy, is that when you got back into sport? How did that happen?
Yeah. I mean, like all, it was again a midlife crisis, I would say. And I mean, I was still not very leaning towards, doing anything else. I was still being lazy, I was
Right.
still not,
Yeah, the inertia, right? Once
Yeah.
you get into that,
I was still being lazy and not being very serious about anything else in life. So, but what happened was one summer, my wife and son had left home for a holiday. I had nothing else to do, so I thought, okay, let me go get some medical tests. So I went around, got some lab tests done. And the lab test came back. The doctor called me. These were his exact words. He said, "You're a ticking time bomb." I'm surprised you're still on your feet.
wow, wow.
So I was like shocked. What are you talking about? I mean, he said all your numbers are through the roof. I mean, they're the wrong side of the spectrum, and then you have to, do some corrections for you to, see things in a better light.
Mm.
That came as a turning point, and that's where I started my association back with sport.
Right. So which year was this?
This would have been 2007.
Okay.
I
Okay.
was in my late 30s.
Hmm.
So it would have been 2007.
Right. And then, so was it like also, was your weight also an issue at that
Oh
time?
yeah, I was at my highest ever. I was around 86 kilos at that time. I mean,
Okay.
this over the years, so much of sedentary lifestyle, eating, bad habits, everything had, combined to push it to the edge.
Right. So, and now you got this kind of shocker from your
Yeah.
test, and doctor said you are a ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
So, what steps did you take to kind of, course correct from
Yeah,
there?
I mean, those days you didn't have access to social media and, don't have access to trainers or, I mean, they were there, but they were like, very few here and there at a much higher level and they were not
Accessible.
accessible and stuff like that. And you had to do your own planning and stuff. Then, luckily, I had my brother who was already, he was in a bit of, he continued his career in cricket, so he had access to various trainers and
What's his name?
his name is Sridhar. R. Sridhar, yeah. So he was with NC in Bangalore at that point, the National Cricket Academy. So
Right.
through him, I got in touch with a few trainers and they said, you can start with this. And then I first went to the gym. Then I started controlling what goes into my body, what I put into my body. That was the biggest part which had to be set right.
Right.
So I started focusing on that. And then slowly, it, every Sunday my wife used to there was an Indian social center there where my wife used to go and teach various subjects. So after dropping her, I used to go for a walk on the. We had something called the Coronation in Abu Dhabi where I used to go for a walk. So I started walking there. Then when I used to see a lot of this, Europeans, especially running, up and down. So it just got me intrigued. Why are these guys running like this?
Right.
So one of the days, I started, trying to keep pace with one of those runners. So I remember it was a woman runner. I tried to keep pace with her, and I think maybe I would have jogged half a kilometer, and then it was like I couldn't tell him.
Right.
So that kind of told me maybe I should try this. Maybe a bit more serious. Then I started going there every evening. So I started running, kind of a bit more. I gave myself a bit more time to slowly progress beyond a kilometer, then 2, and then 3, and then one day on one week I was running 5. So that bug caught up.
Right.
Then I looked around for certain running clubs and then joined a few running clubs, and then 5 became 10, 10 became half, and half became full. So I ran a few marathons.
Nice.
All this happened between 2007 to 2017. 10 years, I had a good running life.
So let us talk a little bit more about that running life, but let us touch a little bit and spend a little bit of time on the what you were putting in your body in terms of food and stuff.
Yeah.
So what do you remember what changes you made that kind of helped you on that, lose that extra weight?
So like you say, I mean, at various points, you get to read various papers on, what is good for your body. And once you start focusing on what is, for example, for running, so what is good for runners and what, you start reading books, you start reading blogs, you start, seeing videos and stuff. So after the way what I found for myself is that, there's no one perfect way. Each guy has got his own, each body is different.
Correct.
So I tried a lot of, I wouldn't say diets, a lot of ways of eating, or what you put into your body. I went from no carbs, then I went to no sugar, and I did a lot of those. But one thing what worked for me is anything in moderacy used to be sodium is one.
Right.
Anytime I overindulge, I used to find the difference. So I stayed away from the bad stuff for sure. I was not eating pizzas or burgers and all that. For a few years, I didn't have any sugar intake at all. I was off all kinds of sweets, especially the Indian sweets. I used to avoid it. I used to avoid it, but then once in a while I used to have an ice cream or a chocolate, which was okay, which was still managed. And during this time, I remember I brought down my weight from 86 to 68.
Wow.
But it took some time.
Right.
It took some time for me to find out what is right.
It was a gradual process.
What suits my body, and at the same time I couldn't afford not to do my running. I needed my energy to keep up with my running life as well.
Right.
So it took some time to find the perfect mix. I was not so great with supplements and all that. Whatever macros I needed, whatever they call it, I used to get it from my regular food advice, what my wife used to cook and stuff like that. And it was fine.
Right. So when you when your running was going steady and when you were doing well in running, what was your typical diet like?
I always used to have a good breakfast. And because lunch was mostly at work, and lunch was packed from home, and then lunch was a bit carbs and a lot of veggies and stuff. Dinner was always very light. Dinner, I used to end up with some, most of the time maybe a smoothie, which I used to have all kind of nuts and stuff, and a bit of yogurt and all that mixed together. Bit of protein here and there. I used to supplement it with it. And generally that's how it was. But breakfast was the most important meal of the day. This time I used to have a good breakfast. Nice lunch. So you are still at work, so a good lunch to supplement the breakfast.
Right.
And then the dinner was always very light.
Dinners were light, but you said you used to have good breakfast? What was the typical?
See, the breakfast was typical South Indian kind of breakfast, which I used to prefer. Idlis or dosas and stuff like that, or once in a while oats upma or something like that, which used to give me the required fiber and carbs. On the weekends, it used to be the weekends when generally we have the long runs and the long, the training used to hit a bit of a high. So it used to be different. I used to eat more carbs and stuff. And one thing which I made sure doing this, earlier we used to have weekends where I had this weekend nights earlier, out with friends, and so those things got cut off completely.
Right. So your social circle kind of.
Most of them were not happy with me, but the weekend socializing got completely affected and got cut off, and it almost became zero at one point of time. So that also kind of helped.
So if I kind of want to summarize, you say, I mean, from what you say, it appears like a normal diet. That is not nothing like spectacular in terms of controlling too much and all that. It's just maybe lighter dinners, typical South Indian breakfast, typical South Indian lunch with more veggies, but light dinners, maybe smoothies and stuff. And that kind of sustained you through your running and all that. And you kind of cut the sugars, no sweets and stuff, maybe occasional ice cream or chocolate here and there, but that was also a big contribution.
Like I said, tried various things and found out this is what worked best for me.
Right.
I mean, without indulging in anything. No processed foods. I mean, little bit here and there, but I wouldn't say I was like, was very tight and all, but this helped. When I was cutting down my weight, it helped a lot. And then after some time when I was trying to rebuild, it helped me stay strong and, keep my running going as well.
Right.
So it was like, take some time for you to find the mix which suits your activities, your lifestyle, and, because you have to work, then you have the sport, and you need energies for all, right?
Correct.
So
you have to be like, you should not be, the energy level should not be down.
You cannot,
at any point.
And then suddenly there is one event which you sign up, which comes from nowhere, you have to get trained for that event. So it had a mix of all. So you need to, it'll take your body some time to find that perfect mix which suits you to, it'll help you fuel your work as well as your passion.
Right. Great. So, and you said from around 2007 to 2017, we had a fairly good spree of running, going from 5K to 10K to half to marathons. So, what was your typical, training? What did your typical training look like through a week?
So it was like, I never used to stretch myself. I used to do 3 or 4 halves a year, and there used to be one full marathon a year. That was the target always. So that was towards the better weather months. Maybe December or January, I used to do a plan for I used to start training 16 weeks out for a full marathon.
Right.
Generally, if it's December or January, by September, October, I used to start training for a full marathon, and then 16 weeks was my training period. So based on that, my mileage used to, slowly it used to increase till we reached the required. I used to, this is a gym for occasional, strength training. Maybe on hindsight, maybe I should have done it more. But anyways, we used to visit it, my wife used to go to the gym for the Zumba classes and stuff. So I used to go with her for occasional those RPM classes or a bit of strength training and all that. And then this is how it was. Once or twice gymming, and then every evening used to go out for a run. Place where I live, luckily, was very conducive for all this. My work permitted me to do all this. Otherwise, it would have been difficult.
Right. Maybe, in the hustle and bustle and kind of the situation that you worked before, going to the weeks, maybe that would have been a different scenario.
That was the key turning point, I would say.
Finding that balance between work and what is important. Also, you had that wake up call when the test came and said, course, you're a ticking time bomb,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, nice. So, and were you taking any help in terms of coaching for running and stuff, or how was it?
Not really, actually. I picked most of my stuff from the internet and then figure out what suits
Yeah.
me, and then here and there I used to because we had these clubs as well locally. So when we sign up for an event, say for example, there'll be 2, 3 guys who will be signing up saying me.
Right.
So we all used to train together.
Train together,
Yeah.
compare notes, this,
Correct.
what is the, do the long runs together and all that. Yeah. Excellent. So now for a marathon now, how did you end up being a cyclist?
It actually was almost tragic. What happened was after some, say, I think around 2018 or 17, I used to get injured quite often. Just because every time I used to train for an event, I increased my mileage, my calves used to collapse. This happened for 1 year, 2 years. So I used to train for an event. Calves used to give way. Actually. Then I ended up going on a couple of hikes. 1 year I did Kilimanjaro. Next year I did the base camp. Then this happened for a couple of years, and then again the third year the same thing happened.
During hikes,
Hikes are fine. I mean, I couldn't get into running as much as I wanted, so I was trying to substitute the running with something else.
all right.
Yeah, but the third year I was like, come on, this can't keep happening. Then I went back to luckily for me, I went back to the same physio. I kept believing in her. She was very honest, and she was doing her best. But then unluckily, my body was just not supporting it. We went back to the gym. We hired a trainer. I built my strength, built my core strength. We tried all whatever is possible. 6 months we used to build, and then as the mileage increases, again it used to collapse. So finally, she told me, boss, if you want to get back into endurance sports, I would suggest you find the easier sport, which is which has got less impact on your body.
Joints.
So I would. She was a cyclist herself, so she was a triathlete. So she suggested, why don't you get into cycling? I said, okay, why not? So the next week I went and got myself my first cycle. It was a giant D5.
This was in 2017.
17, yeah.
Okay.
It was a giant D5, and then my wife got it for me actually. She was happy that I'm going off running and getting into cycling. So then from that time I've been hooked to cycling.
Nice. Does any bit of running happen in between?
I do. A couple of my friends who have taken up to running now recently, so I keep giving them company here and there. And recently,
Shorter.
I think, I did the 10K in the Hyderabad marathon, but not as much as I'd like to. But I just keep in touch.
Yeah. It's like keeping the inner runner happy by indulging in shorter, want to kind of. So now coming to cycling, right? What do you kind of, because you've been a long time runner on cyclists, what are the similarities that you find in both the sports, and what are the major differences?
Is in terms of satisfaction, I would say the high which I used to get in running is the same which I get in cycling as well. I mean, it need not be any event related, but after a good training session, the feel good factor which was there in running,
the endorphins.
Yeah, is always. I mean, I am able to relate to it in cycling as well. I get the same feel good thing, so that keeps you going. Plus, cycling as such, how the sport is. Here and there, when you get into various groups, they always challenge you, to do better or go higher or go faster, and that caught on. Luckily, we have good groups in Hyderabad here, so that caught on. And then I moved back to India during the COVID. After the COVID, first year of COVID, I moved back to India, and the groups became much more relatable. And then like this, I used to when the tours caught up. Like you said, TFN was one of my earlier tours. And I started doing almost 3-4 tours a year. So, it keeps me.
Nice. So, kind of like I said, we first met on tour of Nilgiris.
Yes.
And how did you get to know about TFN and how did you get into that?
TFN, again, it was, I think it was a social media related awareness only. I can't recollect exactly who was the trigger, but I remember reading about it in some blog or some post somewhere, and then I started researching it. Then I found more details and stuff like that. Then I got in touch with an old classmate of mine in Bangalore. So he also had heard about it. So he put me on to Deepak. He says Deepak was a guy. So then I got in touch with Deepak and then chatted a bit and then signed up.
So how was your it was your first tour
Correct.
kind of thing. So how was your experience there? What do
It
you
was,
like about the tour?
it was a kind of a once in a lifetime experience. I mean, that's what got me hooked to, cycle touring as such. After that, that has been kind of a benchmark. So whenever I go on various other tours, I see how relatable they are. It wasn't very exciting, even though I was not, I was kind of a noob to cycling at that point of time. I was not sure, how the climbs are done, how you pace yourself on a climb, and what you do on a climb, what nutrition goes into your body. Those are all things which I learned on that top.
Right. Yeah. Excellent. And then now we are on Mae Hong Son.
Yeah.
And this is your second
Yeah.
Mae Hong Son.
Yeah.
You were here last year.
Yeah.
if I remember.
Yeah.
So what about this tour that kind of attracts?
See, once a year, like I keep saying, I like to push myself, or people say, like my wife says, torture myself. Why do you want to go get yourself tortured? So I like to do this once a year where I test, limits. I found this tour to be, it lets you do it at your own pace. You don't have to be, of course, TBA, they take care of the other factors. Where you can, focus all your energies on, cycling. This particular circuit, I found it to be challenging in a very systematic way. Maybe it's how the route is, but I found it to be, it pushes you to the limit, which not many tours can do,
Right.
It's every day is like as if you find something new.
Right.
That's what makes it a bit more challenging.
Yeah, I kind of agree that we are recording this on the 5th day of the tour. The first 2 days were brutal. More than 2
They
days.
set the trend, for what's coming.
Correct.
Even though you think, the rest of the days are going to be much more easier, you'll be surprised.
Yeah.
There will be always something which hits you out of nowhere.
Yeah, there is no easy day on this terrain. You can't really, there is no flat section as such. Right? Today is relatively easy, you can say, but still we have like some 700, 800 meters of elevation, over 65 kilometers of mostly downhill.
Yeah.
Right? So it is that is if that is easy, you can.
The best part, like you asked me, the why I keep coming back is
Right.
here, this part of the world, you can focus on your cycling struggles without having to look for other external factors. You don't have to worry about traffic is there, but it's not going to come in your way of cycling.
Right.
There's a lot of, the weather is okay. It gets hot at sometimes, but still, it's all part of your test. It's
Right.
part of your challenge.
Right.
How you kind of adapt yourself to the weather and the conditions. So you're only focused on the roads in front of you, whatever, and then you're on your struggles.
Right.
That's what keeps you moving.
Excellent. Yeah, I tend to agree. The traffic, the people and their driving sense astonished me because they give you the widest berth one can give, and they never honk, and just to kind of on Inthanon, and we were climbing. We talked about this
Yeah.
before. I mean, there was some kind of road blockage,
Road
so
dividers
that
were, yeah.
dividers, so that others don't cross out. And as we were climbing, there were cars. The guys don't honk, nothing. They're giving you. We're going at 5-6 kmph.
They respect the struggle. They know you're struggling. They don't add to your pressure.
Correct. We were like signing them to go, but they were a little apprehensive to kind of pass you because they end up passing close and they're not
Correct.
used to it. And I found it really,
I mean, that's what is even for TFN. You go through some very high traffic areas.
Yeah.
I mean, the respect a cyclist deserves. I mean, you're struggling.
Right.
You're doing a 10%, 12% gradient. People should respect you for that, which is what is lacking in most places.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I found it really amazing, and especially this particular loop, Mae Hong Son loop. I kind of understand why the motorcyclists love doing this. So it's such a flowing course. They're not like too many hairpin kind of stuff, but it is like such a flowing.
It's all
course,
winding
even
roads up and down.
winding roads, all up and down.
Yeah.
And the descents, as hard as the climbs are, the descents are so exhilarating and enjoyable.
I mean, that's what keeps me going. I do all those climbs because of the distance.
Awesome. So you kind of attempted Inthanon.
Yeah.
You have actually done Kalahatty.
Yeah.
So how do you kind of compare those?
I would say they're two different animals, actually.
Right.
I mean, it all depends on, again, how is your overall. By the time you come to Kalahatty in TFN, you have done a bit of
Right.
yeah,
70
climbs, yeah. But here on first day, the lead up to it, itself, when you have did the entire part, the lead up itself is tough.
Right. Yeah, there is a good 20-kilometer climb, 20-25-kilometer climb before you actually hit the main Inthanon.
Which itself is at 15-16%.
Right.
So, it takes a lot for me to go to the last.
Yeah.
I mean, hats off to you and Bala for doing it, but
yeah, I mean,
it was
so. In my case, actually, I told myself, I've done Kalahatty. This is actually shorter, maybe less steeper, which is a lie, actually, because if you look at Kalahatty, it is from base to top, it is 11.5 kilometers and at 10%, 1150 meters. That is it. Okay. But when you come to Inthanon, actually your climbing started much before.
correct.
Although even for Kalahatty, you ride to from Sultan Bateri,
Yeah.
whatever, you climb a little bit, ride a lot. It's not as hard as the lead up to the Inthanon,
Exactly.
because the lead up to Inthanon, 20-25 kilometers of climb with lot of steep pitches that are continuously going. And you come to the base, and then that 9 kilometers and 9.8%, whatever, is actually not that, because there are some fairly 4-5% sections. That means that there are sections that are like 15-16%
Yeah.
that are like continuous. And I mean, to be honest, I was lying to myself saying this is easier than Kalahatty and all that, and because that otherwise I would have probably stopped.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, the entire thing is built in such a way that, it's actually rigged for failure.
Yeah,
I mean, it is
a tough
Yeah.
one. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that I was able to
Oh, yeah.
get over it.
Tough.
Yeah, I mean, that is one thing that kind of started the this tour on a right note for me. And I'm really enjoying the entire course. And the terrain is such a beautiful, especially today's ride. I was feeling, it took me back 10-12 years back when I was in Vermont.
Okay.
mountains both sides and the kind of hues of red and stuff in the mountains.
It's always,
It was
you
like
get in, you get to a
super
valley and then again come. It's always, a valley-based.
amazing. I mean, it took me back to all those years of riding.
The landscape was just
Amazing, stunning.
just add to your peace, and that kind of camouflage your struggle.
Right.
Even though you're struggling, you just look up and see the landscape. Okay, for a moment you forget the struggle and then you continue.
Yeah. So, and you kind of now enjoying cycling, and enjoying the aspect of touring and stuff. What what is there on your kind of bucket list for the coming year or two?
There are a couple of peaks which are there,
Mm.
and most of them are, what do you call the cyclists' dream.
Mm.
They're based in France and Italy, which I hope to do someday, maybe this year or next year. Next couple of years, I hope to get there as well. Let's see
Yeah.
if the entire the system keeps going and the body is good enough. Shall I do it one day?
Good, good. I mean, it's actually quite inspiring to see you and others ride so strong. And I'm sure that you will be bucket list items.
We can do it together.
Yeah, let's do. In 2019, we went to uh, these Dolomites.
Yeah,
Oh, that is beautiful.
I'm sure.
Setting. I mean, like the majestic setting.
What time of the year it is?
It's July,
Good time to-
something like that. It was one of the best experiences, most memorable experiences. Something like this. That is what the kind of spot in your
I
bucket
mean, not,
list.
not able to do at your pace
No,
or
but-
level, but I hope to attempt.
No, but
one day.
definitely, all of us can do at our own pace.
Correct.
I was when I was climbing those Dolomites, those hills. A 60-year-old grandmas were passing me like I was standing
Yeah.
still. Right? It's all relative.
They're all,
right?
yeah, exactly.
That's
They all know
So
what to want.
correct.
How,
Yeah, I mean,
Which is built.
each of us have
Yeah.
our own journeys, and each of us have our own struggles. We have to take the life at our own pace. So, yeah, let's hope to ride more together.
Definitely.
Maybe some of them bucket list items tick off together.
We'll do that.
Awesome. Thanks,
Thanks, Venki.
Murali,
Thanks
for
for having
taking
me.
the time.
Anytime.